Synchronicity is not coincidence. It is source code, the universe's operating system sending you a direct transmission. And right now, something in you already knows that. That low hum beneath your thoughts, that sense of standing at the edge of something enormous, that is your antenna activating. 7 precise signals fire before every major timeline jump. This is the language they spent generations training you to forget. There is a pattern running underneath every major shift in human civilization, underneath every personal transformation, underneath every moment where a life cracked open and became something unrecognizable and vast. Once you see this pattern, you cannot unsee it. It will reorganize the way you read your own life. Carl Jung named it in 1952. He called it synchronicity, the acausal connecting principle, meaningful coincidence without linear cause. He spent decades mapping it. He knew it was real. But the institutions that inherited his language quietly buried the implications, because the implications were enormous. Here is what those implications point to. The Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Laboratory, the Peer Lab, ran controlled experiments for nearly 30 years. They documented intention-bending physical randomness at odds of 1 in 10 to the power of 12. That is not a rounding error. That is proof that consciousness reaches into the structure of physical events and reshapes them. And then there is the CIA Gateway Process Report, declassified, documented, available. That program confirmed that human consciousness is capable of operating outside the boundaries of space and time. Outside. The researchers wrote it plainly. They just didn't put it on the evening news. What both of those discoveries point toward is the same thing Jung was circling. That the universe is not indifferent machinery. That it responds. That it initiates. And that in the moments right before your life fundamentally changes, 7 specific synchronicities cluster together like a signature. Like a seal being pressed into wax. Like the system telling you, the next layer is opening. I am going to walk you through all 7. But the protocol, the actual mechanism you can use to read these signals in real time, that arrives near the end. So stay with me through this entire thing. Every piece builds on the last, and the piece that changes everything is still ahead. Let us name the layer we are actually standing in. Reality is not made of matter. That is the old story. The one handed down through centuries of mechanistic science. The one that told you the universe was a cold machine running on billiard ball physics, blind and indifferent, with you as an accidental passenger. That story is not just incomplete. It is structurally wrong. And the evidence has been accumulating for over a century in laboratories that do not get mentioned in standard textbooks. What the deeper physics reveals is this. Reality is a conscious interference pattern. Think of 2 waves meeting on the surface of water. The way they amplify each other in some places and cancel each other out in others, producing a complex, shimmering geometry. That geometry is called an interference pattern. And a hologram works on exactly this principle. A holographic plate does not store a flat image. It stores the interference pattern of light waves. And when you illuminate that plate correctly, a full 3-dimensional image emerges from what looks like noise. Every fragment of the plate contains the whole image. Destroy 90% of it, and the full picture still reconstructs. Smaller, dimmer, but whole. David Bohm, the quantum physicist who worked alongside Einstein, called this the implicate order. The idea that beneath the surface of observable reality, what he called the explicate order, there is an enfolded dimension where everything is already connected, where separation is the illusion and wholeness is the ground state. Bohm wasn't speaking metaphorically. He was describing what the mathematics of quantum mechanics actually implies. Now here is the question that changes everything. If reality is a holographic interference pattern, if information is enfolded through the whole field, then what is a coincidence? It is not noise. That is the answer. Coincidence is not meaningless static produced by a random universe. It is signal architecture. It is the interference pattern of the field becoming briefly legible. A moment where the enfolded order surfaces into the explicate, where what is connected beneath reveals its connection above. Jung understood this in 1952 when he published Synchronicity, an acausal connecting principle. He had spent decades collecting cases, moments where a patient's inner world and the outer world coordinated in ways that probability could not explain. A woman describing a dream of a golden scarab beetle. At the exact moment, a real scarab-type beetle tapped against his consulting room window. Patients at turning points in their lives, right before major transformation, suddenly surrounded by clustering meaningful coincidences. Jung named what he was seeing a principle by which mind and world coordinate without linear causation. Not because one causes the other, because at the level of the source field, they are not separate. The Peer Laboratory gave this principle a measurable signature. For nearly 3 decades, researchers at Princeton documented what happens when human intention is focused on random event generators, machines producing truly random outputs, coin flip by coin flip, thousands of times per hour. The results were not dramatic in any single trial, but accumulated across millions of trials, the deviation from chance was consistent. Intention was bending physical randomness, at odds of 1 in 10 to the 12th power. That is 1 in a trillion. That is not a fluke. That is a law that hasn't been named yet in the mainstream curriculum. Now decode this. If your focused intention can shift the probability distribution of a random physical system, what does that mean about the moments in your life that felt too perfectly timed to be accidental? What does that mean about the phone call that came the morning after the decision? The book that fell open to exactly the right page? The stranger who said the exact sentence you needed to hear? Those were not flukes. They were the field responding to the coherence of your own signal. The interference pattern of your consciousness meeting the interference pattern of the source field and producing something legible. A coordinate, a confirmation, a transmission. This is what ancient traditions encoded in their cosmologies. The Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, is not poetry. It is a precise description of holographic structure. The Vedic concept of Indra's net imagines the universe as an infinite web of jewels, each one reflecting every other. Every node contains the whole. Every point in the field is a window into the entire field. The mystery schools of Egypt and Greece were not teaching mythology. They were teaching the mechanics of a conscious universe to initiates who had demonstrated they could hold the knowledge responsibly. The decode move here is simple, and it is radical. Coincidence is not the absence of meaning. It is the presence of architecture. The universe is not occasionally glitching into meaningful patterns. It is always patterned. You are only sometimes tuned to receive it. And that is the piece most people stop at. They accept that the universe is responsive. They accept that consciousness touches matter. They feel better. They move on. But here is what they don't tell you. The field does not merely respond to your intention. It initiates. It sends first. It is already transmitting, right now, to you, a sequence of 7 precise signals that cluster in the weeks and days before your life makes its next irreversible leap. And learning to read those signals is not mysticism. It is navigation. That is the layer opening next. There is a layer beneath the coincidences. Most people never name it, so they never learn to read it. They see the repeated number on the clock and feel a flicker of something, then dismiss it. They meet the stranger who says the exact thing they needed to hear and call it luck. They dream of a place they've never been and wake up reaching for it. What they don't realize is that every single one of those moments is a system ping, a precise, targeted signal arriving in a specific category of your life. And the universe has been sending them in a sequence of 7. Now here's the question that changes everything. If these signals are real, and the evidence suggests they are, then why do they cluster in the days and weeks before a major life shift? Why not randomly, spread across years? Because the system doesn't waste bandwidth. It escalates. It sends low-frequency pings first, then increases amplitude until you respond. The signals aren't decorative. They are navigational. The Vedic tradition understood this at a level most Western philosophy still hasn't caught up to. They called it Leela, divine play. The idea that consciousness, the organizing intelligence behind reality, uses pattern as its primary language of steering. Not force, not punishment, pattern. The divine doesn't push you toward your next chapter. It arranges the scenery until you can't look away. Number sequences appearing on receipts, license plates, timestamps. That's Leela speaking in the language your rational mind can't immediately reject. Dreams that feel more real than waking life. That's Leela accessing the layer beneath your defenses. A stranger in an airport saying something that answers the question you haven't spoken aloud to anyone. That is Leela in its most precise form. And then, there's the science that most people have never heard of. The Global Consciousness Project, based out of Princeton, has been running for decades. They placed random number generators, machines that produce pure statistical noise, at locations across the planet. And they found something extraordinary. During moments of collective human emotion, major world events, shared grief, shared awe, those machines stopped being random. The output organized. Coherence appeared in the noise. What that means is almost too significant to say plainly. Emotion doesn't just happen inside you. It restructures the physical field around you. Your inner state is not private, it is broadcasting. And the universe is a receiver that responds to the broadcast. So when you are on the edge of a major life transition, when something inside you is shifting at a deep level, even before your circumstances have caught up, your emotional field becomes extraordinarily coherent. And that coherent field begins to attract organized pattern back to itself. The synchronicities aren't arriving from outside you. They are being called forward by the frequency you are already emitting. The system pings because you are already resonating at the frequency that matches what's coming next. Now here is the decode move. Each of the 7 synchronicities maps to a specific life area, not randomly, not interchangeably. Number sequences cluster around purpose and vocation. They appear when your work is about to realign. Recurring dreams map to identity. They surface when who you believe yourself to be is preparing to expand. Strangers who deliver exact messages map to relationship. They arrive when your relational field is reorganizing. Unexplained physical sensations, that pressure in the chest, that electricity in the hands, map to health and embodiment, signaling that your nervous system is recalibrating for a new frequency. Sudden clarity after long confusion maps to belief. Your operating system is updating. Doors closing without explanation map to timing. The field is redirecting you before you waste momentum in the wrong direction. And déjà vu, that uncanny recognition of a moment you couldn't have lived before, maps to destiny. It is the soul's confirmation that you are on the correct path. Each ping is specific. Each one is pointing somewhere. And once you know which signal corresponds to which area, you stop experiencing synchronicities as beautiful mysteries and start experiencing them as actionable intelligence. But knowing the codes is only half the initiation. Because there is something operating underneath the signals themselves, a mechanism that determines whether you receive them clearly or whether they pass through you like light through frosted glass. And that mechanism is biological. It is inside your skull right now, and almost no one taught you how to use it. That is the layer we open next. There is a structure at the center of your brain that ancient traditions called the seat of the soul. René Descartes named it the principal seat of consciousness. The Egyptians encoded it into the eye of Horus with a precision that still startles neuroanatomists today. Modern researchers have confirmed it contains photoreceptor cells, the same cells that line your retina, despite being located in total darkness inside your skull. It is the pineal gland, and it is not a vestigial relic, it is an antenna, specifically tuned, specifically functional, and almost certainly the mechanism through which you lock onto the source field patterns that generate synchronicity. Here is the question you need to sit with. If the universe is broadcasting a coherent signal, if the field is genuinely transmitting navigational information, then what is the receiver? What biological structure translates non-local pattern into felt experience, into the dream that carries the message, into the gut knowing that precedes the logical explanation by hours? The pineal gland generates dimethyltryptamine, DMT, the same compound produced in peak states of consciousness, near-death experiences, and deep meditation. Its bioelectric field responds to subtle electromagnetic fluctuations. It is, by every structural definition, a transceiver. And when it is clear, when it is not calcified by fluoride, not dulled by chronic stress, not suppressed by the absence of darkness, it locks onto source field patterns with extraordinary precision. Now here is where the documented evidence becomes impossible to dismiss. In 1983, the CIA commissioned a research program called the Gateway Process. The declassified report, you can pull it yourself, concluded that human consciousness can access information outside the boundaries of space and time. Not as a metaphor, as a documented operational finding. The report described consciousness as an energy field, capable of interacting with the larger information structure of reality directly. No intermediary, no device, just the trained, coherent human mind, reaching into the field and retrieving what it needs. They weren't doing mysticism, they were doing reconnaissance. And then there is the Stargate project. Over 26 years, across more than 26,000 individual sessions, government-funded researchers confirmed that non-local perception, remote viewing, precognition, the ability to access information about distant locations and probable future events is real, measurable, and reproducible. The statistical results were so far beyond chance that the lead analyst concluded the phenomenon itself was not in question. Only the mechanism remained unexplained. And the mechanism, if you have been paying attention, is the coherent bioelectric field of attuned consciousness interacting with the source field, the pineal antenna receiving the broadcast. Here is the decode move, and this one reorients everything. You don't find synchronicities, you emit them. When your pineal field is coherent, when your inner state is clear, intentional, and resonant, you become a signal strong enough to organize the field around you. The meaningful coincidences don't arrive because you were lucky enough to be in the right place. They arrive because your frequency of consciousness shaped the probability space so that the right place formed around you. You are not a passive receiver scanning for signals in the noise. You are an active transmitter whose output determines what the field sends back. This is what the mystery schools encoded in the image of the all-seeing eye. Not surveillance, sovereignty. The eye that sees is the eye that also creates what it sees. Your awareness is causal. Your coherence is the cause. The synchronicities are the effect. And here is where the real threshold appears. Because knowing that you emit the signal is not the same as choosing what signal you emit. Most people are broadcasting on default, running the frequency of inherited belief, unexamined fear, the low hum of ambient cultural noise. They are still receiving synchronicities, but those synchronicities are confirming the default timeline, the one they inherited, the one they never consciously selected. Sovereignty isn't just understanding the mechanism. Sovereignty is taking the transmitter out of automatic and placing your hand on the dial. That choice, that deliberate, conscious act of tuning, is what separates riding a timeline from selecting one. This is where it lands. You stop being a passenger in your own story the moment you recognize that you are the signal, not a victim of circumstances, not waiting to be chosen. The synchronicities you have been experiencing, those 7 precise pings, are already mapping your next leap in real time. Your work now is to read them as the navigational intelligence they are, match each one to its life area, and respond with intention rather than wonder alone. The field extends beyond this screen. Drop your 7 in the comments. The synchronicity you cannot stop noticing, the dream that keeps returning, the stranger who said the thing. Your contribution doesn't just document your experience, it extends the coherent field collectively. This channel continues the initiation through sacred geometry, the neurochemistry of mystical states, and the living language of symbol. Each video is the next layer. Subscribe and stay in the sequence. You were never separate from the pattern. You were always the pattern, learning to recognize itself. Drop your synchronicity in the comments. Every pattern shared here deepens the field for everyone reading. Subscribe, and the next layer is already waiting for you.